Dubstep.
You're so dark!
You're not from the DC universe.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Colton Ogburn, and Josh Brolin, Marvel's Thanos and Cable, is now being eyed by James Gunn and the new DCU for a role in their new DC universe. Josh Brolin was once wanted for the DCU's Hal Jordan Green Lantern, a role that Brolin himself has confirmed that he passed on, but Brolin is still open to playing a character in this new DC universe. So the question becomes, which DC role is he holding out for? Now, I have my own personal fan casting for Brolin in the DCU that I want to share with you guys and get your thoughts on. And a little later, I'm going to bring on DC superfan Cameron Kasky and friend of the show, the lovely Tommy Bechtold, to get their thoughts on my pick for Brolin's DC role, as well as who they would like to see the former Mad Titan play in this new universe. So I think it's pretty obvious who Brolin should be cast as.
Darkseid!
No, well, actually, yeah, that would be perfect if he played both Thanos and Darkseid, but no, I want him to play the Dark Knight. I want Brawling Brolin Batman.
Isn't he a little old to be Batman?
No, I don't think so, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. So, we know very little about James Gunn's plans for the DCU Batman, apart from the fact that his first film in the DCU will be Brave and the Bold, and it will feature Batman training his teenage son, Damian Wayne, as his new Robin. So, of course, when I hear Damian Wayne, I automatically think of an older Batman. In the comics, Damian Wayne, like I said, he's Bruce's teenage son, and he is his fifth Robin. Fifth. That means not only will this DCU Batman have been around the block a time or 10, but he's going to be an older guy. Older than this universe's version of Superman. And I think that's the right choice because we have a whole other Batman franchise that will be running parallel to this new Batman. And I think it's important that these Batman be as different as possible. And a key way to do that is have them be drastically different in age. Pattinson's Batman is a young Batman. He's new to being Batman. He's still in his early years. The DCU Batman, however, similar to the Ben Affleck Batman, will be a seasoned Batman who has fought most of his famous battles against his most notorious rogues. And Brave and the Bold, of course, will be based on that classic Batman run by Grant Morrison, who actually co-created the character of Damian Wayne with Andy Kubert. Morrison described his Batman and Robin storyline as a reversal of the typical Batman and Robin dynamic, with a more lighthearted and spontaneous Batman and a scowling, more badass Robin. Now look, I get it. Josh Brolin is 56 years old, and I understand if some feel like that is too old for someone to start playing Batman, but I have to hard disagree. 56, hell, it's the new 46. Brolin looks great, and he seems to be in great shape, certainly better shape than me, and I don't see any reason why he couldn't play the role for at least another 10 to 15 years. Brolin has the grit, the bulk, and the perfect chin to play the Bat. He's also got that suave and charming look of a Bruce Wayne, and he is also perfect at playing a cocky, funny, wise-ass type character, and I think that type of casting will be needed for this universe's version of Batman, not only to differentiate him from the more gothic and humorless version of Batman that Robert Pattinson is playing, but this type of Batman that I'm expecting to see in the DCU will work better in team-up scenarios, which there will be many of. And then there's, of course, the James Gunn and Damian Wayne of it all. This movie is going to be funny. Not like a comedy, but it's going to have more humor than we're used to in a Batman film. Dark humor, violence-based humor. I'm not saying it's going to be quite as light as Guardians of the Galaxy or the Suicide Squad, but close. And I anticipate that Bruce and Damian's interactions will be reminiscent of Big Daddy and Hit Girl from the Kick-Ass films.
Again?
Uh-huh.
Look, only if we can go by the bowling alley on the way back.
The bowling alley.
Yeah? And ice cream after.
So I think Brolin is the perfect choice for Bruce Wayne and Batman, and he will be the perfect casting for a Brave and the Bold style character who is a father and who bickers with his mouthy teenage son, but is also training him to be a noble hero instead of an assassin. Well guys, those are just my thoughts, but now I am joined by two of the best. I've got friend of the show Tommy Bechtold and DC superfan Cameron Kasky. Also, guys, if you enjoy conversations like this, consider checking out our live show. We got a link down in the description below for tickets. We've also got a link to our merch store while you're down there. So guys, Cam, Tommy, I just shared my thoughts on why I think Brolin should be playing Batman, but I want to get your thoughts on, do you think he'd be too old to play Batman? And then a little later I'm going to ask, is there a different character in mind that you would prefer to see him play? Tommy, am I wrong? Am I crazy about Brolin being Batman?
No, I mean, yes, you're crazy, but you're not wrong about Brolin playing Batman. He'd be an excellent Batman. He's got that intensity, and he's got that dual persona that I think he'd be so fun as Bruce Wayne. I always loved the I'm retreading old pathways here, but I love the conversation that Bruce Wayne is actually the alter ego and Batman is the real person. I fully, that makes sense to me, as people always hide behind these larger than life characters, and I think Batman is also ridiculous, but in a completely different way, and I think Brolin would have so much fun with that role. The age thing doesn't bother me. He keeps himself in amazing shape. Batman is timeless. I think that, having Batman and Superman be disparate ages in a different time periods, it doesn't bump me at all. I think that's a home run choice for him. There's other characters I think we're going to talk about later that I could see him playing in the DCU. I think when you have, I know we want new faces, and I like when new people get their opportunity, and, as an actor, I want an opportunity to play something in the DCU someday, but it's like, I also don't mind when you get these guys and girls that crush it, like he killed it as Thanos. He was amazing as Cable. It's like, he's going to bring it. He's a pro, he's a professional, and he to me is in the elite tier of understanding comic book movies and playing them. He doesn't think he's above it. He doesn't think it's ridiculous. He plays it right at the right tone. He knows these characters are larger than life and quasi outrageous, but he also he brings a realness to the characters. Even Thanos, this giant purple grimace character, he made you empathize with his insanity, and I think Batman is also insane, so bring that on for me.
Well, and you brought up Cable. Speaking of Cable, and in those movies, just the way he responds to all of the nonsense that comes out of Deadpool's mouth in those movies, that's what I kind of see for Bruce and Damian in this Brave and the Bold movie. That's the kind of thing I want to see with the chemistry between these two characters. All right, so Cam, what do you think? Do you like Brolin for Batman?
I think Brolin makes sense as Batman when we're keeping in mind that this Batman story is built around him being a father of a teenager. I was originally quite confused that in a universe where Superman is just sort of getting started, we were getting an older Batman who was old enough to have had a child with Talia al Ghul over a decade ago. But then I thought about the fact that Reeves' Batman is 2 or 3 years into his career, and this Batman needs to be a sharp contrast from what's going on with Reeves. So I said, okay, we're going to get a Batman who does all the things that we can't get in the Reeves movie. He has the full Bat family that you're not going to see in the Reeves verse. He's got those big vehicles. He's got the costumes, the type of thing you saw in the Flash movie with Michael Keaton's Batman, where he had a different Batman costume for every occasion. So I think that the Batman we're going to get is going to be way larger than life and be the other half of Batman that Pattinson's is not focused on. Pattinson already is Batman from The Long Halloween. It seems very clear that we are getting Batman the Brave and the Bold. I mean, that's what the movie's called. So we're going to be getting that Batman who can punch an alien in the face, and the Batman who is, jumping off a building 10 stories, avoiding a Mr. Freeze ice blast to go punch Poison Ivy while he's getting attacked by green tendrils. They're going to go all the way in the other direction, and that speaks to Gunn's sensibilities. Gunn has spoken positively about Batman and Robin. He's maybe the only person who's ever done it, but I think that kind of tips his hand a little bit that it is the fantastical Batman. It is the Batman who's more like a Silver Age comic book, the same way that the Superman appears to be, that we're going to get. So Brolin, like Tommy said, he's an actor with a sense of occasion who knows how to show up, who knows what to bring, and who can balance the comic book spectacle with the human emotions that will make a story like that resonate beyond just the fun. I will say it does bring to mind the casting of Ben Affleck, where we were getting this sort of Dark Knight Returns era Batman. I feel like getting Josh Brolin would be a similar beat to what we were getting with Affleck, which is here's the older, more seasoned Batman. Personally, I don't mind because I think that, giving him that sort of age gap with Superman is interesting for their dynamic. I think it helps establish that he's this legend in Gotham. We already have a sense that he's this legendary force in Gotham from his split second in Creature Commandos. I personally have some people I'd rather see in the role, but generally speaking, if I heard it was Josh Brolin, I would be like, great. He's never missed.
Yeah. And I hate to use this word, but comic booky. I think this Batman is going to be more comic booky, which is what we're seeing, I think, with Corn Sweat in James Gunn's Superman. This universe just has like this different feel to it, which I think in our breakdown of that trailer, Ryan and I have both talked about how like the MCU, it feels like they're bringing superheroes into our world. I think what the DCU is going to be is it's bringing us into their world, and it's going to be like more stylized and stuff. So I completely agree. We are going to see a more fantastical Batman. And I think that's important considering, fine, you want to have two Batman franchises running parallel to each other. Fine. If you're going to do that, though, they have to be starkly different for it to work, in my opinion. So, okay, there's the Batman of it all. It was reported, Brolin has confirmed, he actually was offered the role of Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. He turned that down. That's part of the reason I think maybe Batman, because why else would he turn down Green Lantern? Maybe because he wants to play Batman. But there's a plethora of other characters. Maybe he wants to stick with playing awesome villains, awesome comic book villains. Maybe there's a villain he'd like to play. So I want to get your thoughts. Other heroes, other villains, who could Brolin play besides Batman? Tommy, you got any names in mind?
Yeah, I think it would be a very James Gunn move if they cast Josh Brolin as Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash, Professor Zoom, and before they show us Barry Allen in this universe. If we get this like intellectual man of science who is like hiding this evil persona, and dealing with the Speed Force, and as the way to introduce the Speed Force perhaps before the Flash, and I think it would be fun to have, if he's going to go the villain route, he's a big physical guy who can also play a hyper intellectual. So I think that would be a super fun kind of other casting for him. And obviously, like, he would kill Deathstroke too, right?
Well, Tommy, that's surprise. I did not. Reverse Flash was not on my bingo card for what you were going to say. So very. I'm gonna have to think on that one. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Cam, what do you think? Reverse Flash? You got
Tommy got mine. My big one was Deathstroke. For a variety of reasons. Number one being that we sort of have gotten these rumors of this Deathstroke and Bane movie, and I think Josh Brolin is visually a little younger than how I picture Slade Wilson, but it's worth noting with Deathstroke that he is in fact a super soldier who has in fact received some sort of super soldier serum, so his aging could very well be slowed. Reverse Flash is obviously a great choice. There's some other people I've admittedly always wanted to see in the role. After watching Fargo season 1, I've always wanted to see Billy Bob Thornton as Reverse Flash, just because his villains are so exciting. I would love to see Michael C. Hall give the guy a break from Dexter. He's been doing it for 100 years. Let him relax. Let him do something fun. For Brolin, I had one other thought, and this is sort of a visual casting, a little cosmetic, but I don't think we're going to see this character anytime soon. But I was thinking about Brolin as Bruno Mannheim. For those who don't know, Bruno Mannheim is a member of, or at least a collaborator with, Intergang, which is a group of people in Metropolis who are arms dealers of weapons from Apocalypse and somebody who interacts a lot with Darkseid. I've seen some people online say Josh Brolin's going to be Darkseid. I think that maybe in like a joke scene of Peacemaker, James Gunn would cast Josh Brolin as this universe's Thanos. I don't think we're going to get that done very seriously. I do think we'll see Darkseid, but I think we'll see him more as a supporting player in a Mr. Miracle project than as the Thanos of this universe. All this is to say, Bruno Mannheim is a Superman villain I would really love to see, because I would love to see Superman deal with Apocalypse technology and alien weaponry from the perspective of having to fight organized crime, almost like Superman in a Batman story. What happens when Superman goes up against a mafia, and it happens to be a mafia that's dealing with weapons from Apocalypse and New Genesis. But Deathstroke is probably my best guess. I would certainly want to see someone like Ed Harris in that role because of Westworld.
Cam, who, and Tommy, you might know as well, I can't think of the name. Who did they cast as Deathstroke in the DCU?
Joe Manganiello.
It was Joe Manganiello, yeah.
I hope they give him you think they would be willing to give him another crack at it? I mean, it was just a post-credit scene, right? I'd love to see him just get brought into the DCU.
I mean, he's on Deal or No Deal
Brolin
Island right now. I don't know if he can leave that island anytime soon. To film,
but there's so many people I want to
just
see in
kidding.
it. There's Ed Harris. There's the guy who played Jamie Lannister. I think would be great. Even,
Nicholas Walder.
Stephen Lang is quite old.
Oh
But he
yeah,
would be pretty exciting. There's so many people who I could see bring so much and Billy Bob Thornton also would be a lot of fun. So it would be excited to see that. Truth is, I think that, Batman and Deathstroke are currently the strongest guesses. My guess for why Brolin turned down Hal Jordan is maybe a little bit more simple, which is I think he might have just not wanted to do TV.
I think Brolin would be a great Deathstroke, and I really just in general hope they bring Deathstroke in, because I feel like apart from maybe Bane, who kind of was he's more overpowered than Batman, I want to see a villain brought in that Batman can actually fight. I feel like the majority of the Batman movies, it's more Batman is fighting them intellectually, and I just want to see Batman, get down and dirty and like actually tussle with somebody. And I just feel like Deathstroke is the perfect character for that. So I am hopeful that we see Deathstroke, and I think Brolin would be great. I'd still prefer him to be the Batman in that scenario. But, okay, you mentioned Darkseid. That's my pick. And I know it's ridiculous. I know it's meta. I know there'd be jokes because he played Thanos. But holy hell, would that not be awesome to see him come in and play Darkseid? And, Brolin he played Thanos in that first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So him and Gunn have worked together on that. I think that would be super cool. Maybe, just maybe, he could play both. Could he play Darkseid like he plays Thanos, and then also have like a non-CGI character like he does with Cable?
I have a feeling that they would. I think that because it's all under one studio, James Gunn would hesitate to do that because the whole thing was it was Fox and Disney before they were merged, right?
Right. Of course.
It happened. The merger happened while the film was being released, I think, because there's a couple of jokes about Disney in there. But So I don't know that James Gunn would do that just because I feel like. He's probably got this grand architecture. And also he loves actors. He'd want to give two different actors these roles. But
yeah, that's true.
I do enjoy that. I enjoy that thought. It also lends to this it gives a visual kind of anchor to the theory of the multiverse theory and stuff. If you're maybe this is the same blueprint of a man or whatever, but in one universe he's Darkseid and in one universe he's Deathstroke. But
no multiverse.
I know. I'm just saying, I always think the multiverse to me is always a weird thing to put in the movies because it's to a non-comic book fan that just wants to see a popcorn movie, it's I have to understand the layers. There's all these different universes. It's
I was going to say, what's so sad, and this is a whole other conversation, but what's so sad is I wanted to say this is the most ridiculous conversation I've had in my entire life in regards to Brolin specifically as Darkseid. Yeah. I wanted to say, you guys are completely out of your minds. This is impossible. But then I remembered, wait a second, Iron Man's playing Doctor Doom. So
that's right.
I suppose...
In the vastness of the multiverse, Cam,
I suppose
anything
anything
is
is possible. I suppose there's a universe where Ryan is playing Darkseid.
Cam, you just have to have the courage to ask yourself,
oh my God. Yeah, I think...
but not season 3.
I have a Darkseid that I think a lot of people might not know. Michael Wincott, who's also a Deathstroke choice for me. He was in the movie Nope. And if you watch the movie Nope with Daniel Kaluuya, it's a Jordan Peele film, there's this guy with this insanely low voice that sounds really awesome. That's my Darkseid. That's my Deathstroke. And if any of you saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the guy who plays Proximus Caesar, a guy named Kevin Durand, I think with his mocap skills and with his voice, he would be a very exciting Darkseid. Basically anything that doesn't remind me of RDJ getting cast as Doctor Doom is a win for me.
Okay, you got me on something. Okay. I have one more villain that I want to mention for Brolin that I think he would be great at playing. But before we get onto that, Cam, you've just sent me down a rabbit hole of, yes, I don't want to see Brolin play Darkseid. I do think it's a little too on the nose because he played Thanos. But, I mean, if they did cast him, it'd be great. I think I would enjoy it. But speaking of the mocap and all that, what about Andy Serkis as Darkseid?
Sure. Why not?
With that deep
So-
voice.
Well, I think it's important. I think you hit the nail on the head with it's important to hire perhaps somebody who is extremely experienced in mocap. And when you mentioned the voice of that other actor, that's also extremely important when it comes to a character like Darkseid, who, yes, we know is going to be CG and who I think's voice is so iconic. I mean, Jesus, even when I read like a comic that has Darkseid in it, I hear that voice, which I think is something that, you know, Zack Snyder, God love him, but that's actually one thing I think they did well in the DCEU. God, I could just see Andy Serkis.
Rest in peace, Tony Todd, because that was the voice I always wanted for Darkseid.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis is the same thing I would say about Josh Brolin in a role where I wouldn't be so excited. I'd be like, well, he's never really missed, so can't quite complain. But I think that Darkseid. I think just to put a pin in what I have to say about Darkseid, he will be more of a side player in what I hope is a Mr. Miracle movie. I think that James Gunn has identified great standalone stories, and I think you see that with Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. He knows what the great trades are. He knows what the great big movements are, and Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is a Tom King graphic novel, as is the greatest Mr. Miracle story, Mr. Miracle by Tom King. So I would not be surprised if Gunn somewhere was cooking a New Gods type project. New Gods speaks directly to James' sensibility, and there's a scene in the Mr. Miracle graphic novel where Darkseid is eating carrots and ranch dip off of a salad tray, and that sounds like James Gunn.
That does sound like James Gunn. Okay, one more. We talked about how Brolin, or at least I talked to, and Tommy, I think you agreed, and I think you guys agreed with me, that he could play like that dichotomy of like play the Bruce Wayne, play the Batman. He can, you know, he's very multifaceted in that sense. What about Two-Face? What about Harvey Dent Two-Face?
Yeah, I like that. I think, first of all, I think he'd look great as Two-Face. Like, you get that, you know, rugged leading man on one side, and then you get the, like, acid burnt out so on the other side. I think aesthetically that really works.
And he's got the hair for it.
Also,
think.
he can play a good jerk. And, like, Harvey Dent is kind of a jerk, right? Like, before, even as a lawyer, like, I mean, Aaron Eckhart, who I think by all accounts might actually be a jerk. I don't know. No shade on Aaron Eckhart, but it's like, he played Harvey Dent as such an asshole in that movie. It was like, oh, you feel bad for him because his, like, life gets destroyed, obviously, but, like, you're also like, man, that was a guy who definitely was high on his own supply the entire, like, he was not lacking the ego.
I've always been of the opinion. I love The Dark Knight. I think it's one of the best comic book films ever made. Completely falls apart.
Oh my God.
I didn't like any of the Two-Face stuff. Yeah.
I can't,
Disagree, Cam?
I'm not even going to waste my time.
Cam, what about Josh Brolin?
That sounds great. I mean, from what I can tell, we don't have any traces of Two-Face in the Reeves verse yet. So there's a chance that we missed that entirely, and there's a chance that Gunn wants to do some sort of flagrant comic booky Two-Face, more akin to Tommy Lee Jones, but hopefully less of a just an echo of the Joker, the way that Tommy Lee Jones was. The way that I always described him and Jim Carrey in Batman Returns is it was Two-Face and Riddler both being told to play the Joker. So I think Brolin would do a great job with that. I confess I would rather see him do something a little different, but and I also, you know, have seen Two-Face twice in Batman movies where I'd rather see some new villains. I would love to pitch you an alternative Two-Face which is sort of uninspired casting, and you'll see why. I would love to see Donald Glover do it, because his range in Atlanta when he really wants to get weird with it makes me think that he can play this kind of calm, cool Harvey Dent character while also tapping into the crazy side of Two-Face. And of course, this is because this was inspired by the fact that he's young Lando, and Billy D. Williams, who played Harvey Dent in the original Batman movies, was supposed to go on and play Two-Face, but even though Batman Returns and Batman and Robin are loosely supposed to be in the Michael Keaton universe, Harvey Dent just became white, I guess, so it could be Tommy Lee Jones. But just the connection to Billy D. Williams and the fact that I think he can play this two-sided guy very well makes me really want to see someone like Donald Glover in the role.
I have a great comic. I'll throw it up on the screen here that actually like is connected to the Keaton Batman movie. It's like a sequel to the first two Keaton Batman movies, and it has Billy D as Two-Face.
The Batman
like
'89
he's drawn
comic, right?
to look like Billy D. It's great. Yeah, it's awesome. And you mentioned the Reeves movies. Two-Face would probably be a better choice for that Batman world, because it's more grounded. So, hey, I mean, maybe Brolin, I think Brolin more specifically is going to be in Gunn's DCU. But I mean, it's DC Studio. Hell, maybe he'll play Two-Face over there. I don't know. I think what we're getting at here, though, with this entire conversation is Brolin is a super talented actor, and I think that is the most important thing that James Gunn is doing right now. Story, of course, first. He said in an interview recently how story is the most important thing for making this work. I really appreciated hearing that, because it seems like they've kind of been lacking that over at Marvel. They're doing this thing where like they just throw things into production and they're like, hey, we'll figure it out. I'm glad that Gunn is committed to story, but he's also committed to putting together a great cast of people who can carry this franchise. And while Brolin did turn down the Hal Jordan role, I'm excited to hear that he's still in the running for something over there. Yeah. He's a super talented guy. A lot of fans always say, oh, well, I want my superhero actors to have a passion for the source material. I don't really think that's important, but Brolin does have a passion for the source material, so maybe that'll appease them as well. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Tommy Bechtold, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Tommy Bechtold on all platforms.
You can find me at Cameron Kasky on all platforms.
Thank you so much for watching. We want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Who should Josh Brolin play in the DCU? Do you want to see him play Batman, Two-Face, Darkseid? The people that Cam and Tommy said, maybe, I don't know. Let us know down in the comments below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Colton Ogburn.